Welcome everybody to today's Empowered Women's Coaching Call. My name is Kira Westwood. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to be doing more of a Q&A session because I have had a lot of questions over the past few months that I've been doing these calls, and often we're focusing on a particular topic, but I love to keep an eye out in the comments and see the other challenges that are coming up for everybody. And they're challenges that we can all relate to, especially as women. And a lot of the areas and topics that you guys have asked me to cover today are things that I have either worked through or continue to work through in my life every day. So I'm certainly no expert, but I do love to just share my journey, because I really feel like when we come together as women and we normalize how we feel by sharing with each other. I think so often we think that we're the only ones who have limiting beliefs, or who are doing comparison, or feeling like we're failing at the mum juggle, or just lacking in that self-belief. And really, I guess what I'm trying to say is, the more that we share, the more that we're open, the more that we're vulnerable, the more we normalize it, and that gives us hope and power to move forward and work on ourselves. So once again, I'm no expert, but I do love to share the tips and things that have worked for myself. I will do my best to keep an eye on the comments. So I do want today to be a little bit interactive. And if you have any other questions come up on anything that I'm chatting about, please pop it in the comments. And I will do my best to keep an eye on that. So without a doubt, the question that was most asked for me to cover is sorry, I'm just trying to keep an eye on all the screens, is comparison and fear of judgment. And, this is something that I think we all identify with. It's something that we've all been challenged with. And I think it's something that, goes right back through our childhood. If I really think about, one of the big scars for me and challenges to work through in my own personal journey, it has certainly been this particular topic. Is just that fear of judgment was a big one for me growing up, a really, really big one. So I'm just trying to figure out my screens here so I can see them all at once, so I can keep an eye on all of your comments. So I'm going to start with that one. And, let me know in the comments if you relate, and how you feel about, any of these challenges as they come up. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for your kindness. So what I've found this comparison and fear of judgment comes down to is really a lack of self-worth and the need for validation from others. And so the more I've worked on my self-worth, and the more I've validated myself and come to know that that's all that is important, is how I feel about myself, the less I care to compare, and the less fear of judgment I have. And I can honestly say that I do, for the most part, live in a space where I genuinely don't care often about what others think of me. And I can honestly say that this has been like the most freeing thing in my entire life. And when you master this is when you are going to find true peace and happiness. I promise you, this is where your freedom lies. And it's probably the best thing that I've ever done for myself. So you guys are relating with this. So it's the reason not getting where you want to be in your business. So today's is really going to help, Jenna. Hopefully I have some good tips for you here. So fearing what other people think of you creates a life of misery. I'm sorry, I'm looking between two screens. I feel like I'm going crazy. But this is a life of misery, and it really does stop you from living the life that you want, which is crazy, right? Because we all have one opportunity here to create the life that we want. Like, we are the master creators, and we're letting people and what they think of us, which actually most of the time they're not even thinking what we think they're thinking, we're letting that stop us. And usually people who don't even hold a valuable space in our life, and we're letting that stop us from being who we're supposed to be in this world. And what I've learned is no one can make you feel inferior, and not without your consent. We hand over our consent every single day in terms of how people affect our emotional state. You know, this is something we need to take our power back on. We are in control of this. No one can make us feel inferior. No one can make us feel judged unless we give that power over, and we have that choice every day. So you choose your emotional climate, and no one's actions can affect that unless you allow it. And I think one of the other things that I've really come to know over the last couple of years is that, you know, we're all unique, and the more that I embrace my own uniqueness and the gifts and skills that I bring to the table, and I focus on developing those, the less likely I am to compare myself to others. And I can't remember where I heard this, but we're not meant to be good at everything. And when you realize this, that you are designed to complement others. You are not designed to be good at everything. You aren't going to have the same gifts and skills as everybody around you. That's the point. You're not supposed to, right? So you're supposed to complement, you're supposed to develop your own unique gifts and skills. So what is the point of comparing yourself to someone else? It's just a waste of who you are, wishing that you were someone else. So one of the things that I do, and you guys know that I talk a lot about my mission statement, one of the things I do every day within my mission statement is focus on my own strengths and knowing what my strengths and my weaknesses are, but really validating my strengths and focusing on developing those is so incredibly important. And, you know, being okay with the weaknesses. We all have weaknesses, and you get to choose whether you develop those weaknesses, whether it serves you to, or whether they're things that you just park and you know that they're not your strengths and you focus on your strengths, and you own both without judgment. So celebrate who you are every day. Celebrate your strengths. If you don't know how to do this, sit down and write down your superpowers. You know, what are your superpowers? Let me get my mission statement here, right? So one of my components of my mission statements is my superpowers. My superpowers are love, kindness, and compassion for myself and others. And, you know, I go through all of the things that I'm really good at. I'm good at writing. I'm good at creating. I'm good at cooking. You know, my divine gift that I believe I've been put on this planet for is to be a teacher. Now, throughout my life, I've taught different things because as my life, you know, flows and evolves and changes, I'm passionate and inspired to teach different things. But I know, in essence, that is my divine gift. So what is your divine gift that you can cultivate and embrace and develop and focus on rather than comparing yourself to somebody else? So incredibly important. Growing self-love and owning all parts of who you are is absolutely essential to this as well. And actually one of the questions that I might just like merge into a little bit with this was finding balance in owning your own authenticity. And so, you know, growing self-love has been one of the greatest challenges for me in my life. And it's taken me a really long time to get to where I am today, where I can genuinely say that I really do love all parts of myself. And, you know, I own the shadow parts and the light parts. And I think so many of us are challenged with loving ourselves because we focus so much on the shadow parts and we either wish they weren't there or think they shouldn't be there, rather than realizing that every single one of us have all of these parts and they all serve us. And when I've come to realize the gifts and had gratitude for the shadow parts and how they serve me in my life, I've really been able to fall in love with myself and those parts of myself without judgment. And if you look deep enough, you will find the gifts. It's so incredibly important to have all parts because, you know, sometimes those shadow parts are the parts that keep us safe or, you know, keep us balanced, or like, you know, there's always a gift in it somehow. You know, I just came back from a personal development retreat. And one of the things that we worked on was my, I can't remember what we called it. Was it my defender? I'm not sure. But, what did we call it? Like there's just this rebellious streak in me. And I actually love that part of myself so much because it's gotten me to where I am today. I don't conform to conventional thinking. I don't let people control me. I don't subscribe to peer pressure. I walk an independent path, and I have from such a young age. And I feel like that has gotten me so far, but it also prevents me from getting close to people and opening up, and, it can create walls and friction. And I can feel it. It's like this little child, it's like I revert to a teenager. My emotional capacity reverts to a teenager, and I get argumentative, and I sound like a teenager when this part of myself is ignited. And in the moment, I can hear myself, and I'm just thinking, oh, I hate myself right now, right? But when you realize and embrace the other side, the gifts that it's brought for you, you can really fall in love with that part of yourself. And I think, finding balance in owning your authenticity is loving and acknowledging that part while still being able to work on choosing consciously when it shows up and how it shows up. So the fact that I'm now aware of that defensive side of me, and I embrace her, and I acknowledge the gifts with so much gratitude that she's brought to my life, because of the awareness, when she comes up in a time and place where it doesn't serve me, I'm more likely to be able to catch myself and transfer the energy in a more productive way. Now, will I do it consistently all of the time? No, but it's not about judgment and beating myself up. It's just about acknowledging there she is again. She's there to protect me, but do I really need to protect myself in this moment? Or is this a moment that I can just, open myself up and, choose one of the other authentic parts of me? All parts of you are authentic, and that's the point. You have to embrace all parts. There is a very graceful, loving, soft side of me, and a lot of people get to see that side. But there's a real tough, rebellious bitch side of me as well, right? And some people get to see that side. And all of those parts are authentic. And finding balance is, depending on what your outcome is and what serves you, what does balance look like to you? I'm choosing to cultivate more grace, more compassion, more kindness, and those things that bring more light into my life because they make me feel really good. I'm going to choose to love myself regardless and have grace for myself regardless of what shows up any given day. But I think knowing that all those parts of you is your authenticity, and you need to choose what the right balance is and what parts of yourself you're going to cultivate each day and for which relationships and in my business, there's different parts of me that serve me and, to my relationships or to me as a mother. And it's never about perfection. There's going to be waves and it's going to be a roller coaster. And you will continue to learn. Oh my gosh, I've learned some lessons. Even over this last month, I've learned so many lessons about myself. And, I will continue to do so, and I will continue to let myself off the hook and take the lesson and take the hits and grow because of it. And this is coming back to your personal power, right? Is that you can't control situations. You can't control how people treat you. All you can control is how you behave, how you react, and how you think and feel. You have the power to control that. So it's always coming back to that. The other thing is around this is we can only see in others what we have in ourselves. So if you're comparing yourself to, say, someone on social media who has, just a beautiful, bright, shining light, and they seem so happy and joyful and they have a great life and maybe they're really confident or whatever it is that you see. And even on the other side of things, you think they're negative or they're based in ego and significance driven. We can only see this because we have those parts ourselves. So if you're comparing yourself, whether it's good or bad, you have to acknowledge that you can only see it in them because it's also available and within you. So I think, I think it's helpful to remember that. Another thing is people are not, I'm going to spend a lot on this topic and then we'll go into some others, but I feel like, let me know if this is valuable, okay? What was I saying? The other thing is people are so not thinking about you as much as you think they are. Like, get over yourself, right? We're so scared of judgment. But the truth is, like, people are not really thinking about you as much as you think. And even if they are, it's not your bloody business anyway, right? So who cares? And honestly, I think that when someone judges me, which, you know, I'm sure in their head it happens, you know, I was going to say a lot, but that goes against what I just say. But, you know, people, of course, we all judge each other, right? But if someone does it, particularly if they're doing it, let's say on social media, and they're doing it out loud or to my face, one thing I've learned is the way someone behaves, acts, thinks, or feels is 100% a direct reflection of who they are and the state and space that they are at in their life. It has zero reflection on me and who I am as a person. It is based entirely on their own ignorance, perspective, and understanding and model of the world, their version of the world, their the state that they're in, how they see the world, and their own frameworks. It's entirely based on them. It has nothing to do with you. So once again, who cares? You know, I think I could count on one hand the amount of times I've had a neg ferret on social media, you know, in the last, I don't know, maybe 8 years that I've been on my social media. And every time I genuinely just feel sorry for them. I feel sorry that they are in a space that they would even project negativity into somebody else's world. Like, you may think it, but to actually go out of your way like a keyboard warrior and project it is just entirely a reflection on the sad space that they are living in, right? Because they're only doing it to make themselves feel better about themselves. So why would you take any of that on board? And particularly those who are watching, who are building a business, you know, whether it's network marketing or whatever that might be, you've just got to get over what other people think of you, because generally they're not thinking of you. And if they are, it's entirely a reflection of what they think and know about the world in their own space. And it has nothing to do with you. So get over yourself and get over it and stop wasting time on it. What else? I think, you know, there's a real difference between admiring and comparing as well. Like for me, you know, when I see someone who inspires me, I really try and use that energy as admiration and to inspire myself for what is possible rather than comparing myself. You know, if you see someone who's fit and healthy and active and you're comparing yourself, you know, channel it as your inspiration, right? You're not aiming, you don't want to be like anyone else. You want to be the best version of you, okay? And you have every opportunity to use that fuel as admiration and inspiration versus comparison. And once again, that's your own personal power, whether you're going to use it as a stick to beat yourself up or whether it's going to show you what is possible. You know, if you're building a business and you see someone who's been successful around you, that should inspire you for what is possible for you, because if you can see it in them, remember, the potential is completely in you as well. The other thing that we have spoken about on this channel a lot is being aware of your inner bitch. We've given, you know, give her a name. If you guys have a name for yours, let me know in the comments, right? We all have that inner voice. You have to expect her. And I can't remember I think it might have been Nima who said this. Someone said this to me. Yeah, I think it was Nima. When he was coaching me on my inner bitch, right? And particularly when my relationship first broke down and I had to step out into the world as an independent woman, I had all of these stories going on in my head of what this meant, and you know, if I was going to be enough, and if I was going to be able to you know, do this on my own. And just that inner voice, that dialogue was going around and around in circles. I know, ladies, you can definitely relate. And, you know, he really just said to me, you have to expect her. She's always going to be there. Just change your relationship with her. And this was a game changer for me. And, you know, I already knew through meditation and some of the books I've read, like Power of Now and Untethered Soul, that voice isn't you. And this is why meditation is so powerful, because when you quieten your mind, right, the inner bitch and all of that noise, right? When you quieten the noise, you get to tune into the truth of who you are. And the truth of who you are is the soul that is listening to that voice. So the voice isn't you. And I think that's where we mess up our lives, is we tune in and we think that that's who we are. and we think that she's telling the truth and that we need to follow her guidance. But when you quieten that noise, you get to tune into your truth. And I think deep down, we all know that we have so much more potential than what we're giving, and that we're capable of so much more, of being so much more, of giving so much more, of showing up so much more, of growing and evolving so much more, right? Experiencing so much more from life. The reason why you're not feeling joy and freedom and peace and as much love as potentially possible is because you're listening to this instead of this. And this was a game changer for me when I learned to tune into my truth. Was I still scared to step outside my comfort zone? 100%. Was I still scared to become a businesswoman and do the action I knew that was required of me? 100%. But I knew the truth was I had unlimited potential. And one of the most powerful things before I had my mission statement that I used to do almost every morning is I would walk along the beach, and you guys could have your own version, but this was, one of the most powerful statements for me is I am, right? And it's a meditative expression it's an expression that you meditate on. And what I would do is I'd walk on the beach in the morning. At the end of my walk, I would just stop and I would just look out to the ocean and how like unending it seems. And, just really looking into the universe, I guess, and the unlimited potential there, and knowing that that is in me and I am part of that and that is part of me, and just really meditating on the word I am and knowing that I am that unlimited potential. And that every morning would just ground me in that knowledge. It would quieten the inner bitch, and it would allow me to go back and, get my head into work and do what I needed to do and to face my fears and get in action. And remember, action is how you create confidence. The more confidence that you grow, the more self-worth you have, and the less need you have for validation from others. Okay, so expect your inner bitch. She's always going to be there. At times she's there to protect you, but stop embracing her. Stop camping out there with her. Okay, don't be in the campground with her. All right, you can thank her, right? Change your relationship with her. Thank her for trying to keep you safe, but you need to go deeper than that. You need to ask yourself what the real truth is. Hopefully this is helpful, guys. I hope I haven't missed any questions. What else? What else did I want to say on this topic? I think it's important to understand that you are the only expert on your life and no one else is an expert. And we need to stop, you know what's good for you, you know where you want to go, you know what you want to create. Maybe you don't, maybe you do need a coach, but a good coach won't tell you any of those things. They will just direct you to your own truth and what's good for you, right? So often we're in need of validation from our friends, our family, our parents, and we, go to them for advice, but really, do they really have the expert opinion on what you should be doing and where you want to go in your life? And I think one of the best things that I've done for myself, without a doubt, like the best thing I've ever done for myself is continue to invest in my own personal growth, because it really just, it's helped me to validate myself and have confidence in my own decisions and my own independence in making choices that are good for me and not having to rely on others. And probably that's been one of the greatest gifts. And one of the other questions that came up was finding healing and being able to move through trauma. And, genuinely the most traumatic thing to me, my separation at the time felt like it was the most traumatic thing that could ever happen to me. But one of the greatest gifts, I think, was that I really relied on that relationship at a time of my life where I had no self-love, and I had no backbone. Like I couldn't back myself. I didn't believe in my own decisions. And in certain ways, yes, I always had that rebellious strong streak. But there was this very wounded, woman as well, and that relationship at the time served me because it filled, and this is potentially why it also didn't work, because it was filling a void in me that I needed to fill myself. And one of the greatest gifts coming out has been that I have to now stand up on my own. I've had to invest in my growth and find that inner strength. And to know how strong I am and what I'm capable of is such an incredible gift that I'm so grateful for. And it's going to be a continual evolution. I still have moments where I'm scared out of my mind, but it pushes me to continue to grow because I know what I want my future to look like, and I'm not going to settle for anything less than extraordinary. And I can stand on my own 2 feet. And I've filled that void in myself now. I don't need someone to do that for me anymore. And that makes me so excited about the future and, you know, with relationships and friendships and business and all of those things, because it means that all of those areas are going to be so much more fulfilling because I am fulfilled myself. So invest in your own growth, and you know that it could be one of the greatest things you could ever do when it comes to judgment and comparison and growing as a woman. You know, people are going to judge you. You've got to get over it. People's opinions are formed quickly and then they're quickly forgotten, and they're not concrete in any way. Like, you're paralyzed in fear over mostly a figment of your imagination, right? And if it's not a figment of your imagination, it's usually people that really hold no weight in our lives anyway. And I think we judge ourselves so much more harshly than others are judging us. And that is the problem. It's actually you that's judging you that you're scared of, and that's derailing your life. When you stop judging yourself, the care of judgment from others stops. The more self-love I have for myself, the less I give a damn what anyone else thinks about me, because I don't need validation. I'm full. I don't have that void to fill. I'm not looking for validation from others. I'm validating myself. And, you know, as I said, judgment says so much more about someone else than it does you. It's based on their opinions. And, you know, probably one of the other biggest tips that I would have around this is the less that you judge others, the more freeing it is of you being judged by others. I think like attracts like, and energy flows. And when you judge someone absolutely will judge you back to balance out life. And that's just the harmony of life. So I think, you know, self-reflect. You're probably scared of judging others because you know how much you're judging others. And the less you judge, the less you gossip, the less you talk harshly about others to other people, the less it's going to happen in return. So free yourself of that as much as possible. Have it in your mission statement, in your mantras, that's something that you want to work on every day. I think we all absolutely do it. But the less you do it, the more positive energy is going to flow into your life. And probably another tip would be just to become, and to help you with judgment, one thing that's really helped me is just to become more flexible and curious in how I see the world. I think I used to be very rigid in my frameworks on how things should be, how people should be, how I should be treated, how people should behave. And I think when you realize that everybody is living their own journey, their own life, that they're at different stages of their journey of evolution, and, you know, just the more flexibility you have in accepting and being curious of yourself, first of all, the more capacity you have to love, you know, unconditionally and accept unconditionally who other people are without judgment. Now, that doesn't mean that if someone isn't good for you, then you just have free space for them in your life. I'm not saying that, but I am saying just being able to love people where they're at, being curious and flexible and open-minded, and knowing that everybody is on their own journey is an incredibly powerful way to help you to stop being so judgmental of yourself and of others. What else? Yeah, I think generally, and I know some of you watching are in, you know, the same business that I'm in, I think the less you care about what other people think of you, the more you're going to step up in your life. And I really want you to focus on stopping, and I think Gary Vee might have said this last week and I loved it. He said, everyone is addicted to the cheering and the booing in life. You are addicted. Let's just take social media as an example. You're building your business, but you're in fear, so you don't post, you don't share, because you care so much what other people think of you, even though most people aren't thinking of you. And if they are, who cares, right? Because it's just a reflection of them, right? But you don't post. And when you do, you're addicted to the cheering. You want to see how many likes you've got, how many comments, how many hearts, right? And then you're devastated by the booing. You want to come to a place where you don't give a damn about either. Like, I'm never looking at how many likes I get, how many comments. I mean, there's so many elements that, you know, that comes down to. Like, there's algorithms where some people are seeing it, some people don't. I barely interact on social media. I'm looking, but I'm not much of a, you know, big commenter and liker. I'm taking it in and I'm thinking it, but I don't always action it. You know, there's so many variables there. You've just got to stop caring, stop looking for those things. Be you. It's your space to shine and be who you are, and you will attract your tribe. And that's what you want. You want to stop modeling your life to suit others, to make other people happy, right? Are you doing what makes you happy, or are you doing what makes you feel accepted, right? Don't confuse real happiness for validation. Validation is not happiness, right? That's you feeling a void that you need to fill yourself. Do what makes you happy, not what makes you feel accepted. The more I come into the truth of who I am, the more I'm attracting like-minded people. And, you know, just the energy that I'm surrounded with every day makes me happy. I used to mold myself to fit other people and situations all of the time. And I still catch myself doing it at times, you know, behaving in a way that I feel is more acceptable perhaps, or where I'm going to feel more accepted, but I'm aware of it and I catch myself more and more with it. And, you know, the better I get at this part of my life, the happier I get. And the more I love my life, and the more I'm able to live with authenticity. And I've really realized that me being authentic, because I've had this big fear my whole life. It wasn't that I wasn't enough, it's that I'm too much. You know, there's times where I can be aggressive and strong-willed, and not as opinionated, because I'm very aware that my opinion doesn't matter to anyone else. I can keep it to myself now. But there is this very strong, fiery side of me, and I'm always scared to be too much for someone. But now I'm in a place where I've realized that I want to attract people that I'm not too much for. Like, you will attract the people that accept and love you for who you are by just being you, but you will live a life of loneliness. Like, I was surrounded by a lot of people when I wasn't being authentic, but I was freaking lonely because I wasn't being me, and I knew that my friends didn't know the real me. And so there wasn't really true connection. And the more that I live in my truth, the deeper my connections are. Now, and you know, maybe there's a time where I had less of them, but I feel like I have more and more connections now because more people are relating to the authentic me, because you can see your challenges in the challenges that I share. And it's just been so incredibly freeing just to be vulnerable and real. And there's so much more happiness there, even if you do lose some people out of your life. You know, you can't please everyone, so just focus on pleasing yourself. And yeah, as I said, the less you care, the more you're going to step up in your life. And I think that's where you're going to find a lot of peace in your life for sure. I'm sorry if I've missed any questions. I think the older you get, the more this stuff kind of just falls into line as well. What else did I want to talk about? Quickly, I might just touch on forgiveness, because this came up, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. I know a lot of the work that we do with Nima and MJB focuses on this. Oh man, there's been some, I feel like, I said this to my friend today, I honestly feel like my life, particularly over the past 3 to 6 months, is like an episode of Days of Our Lives. Like, the way I'm getting through it is entertaining myself. Like, wow, like this shit's actually happening, right? And it kind of makes me laugh, because I just think, like, no one would have picked this. And like, there's things happening in my life that I just think, how did this even happen? And you know, it's, yeah, I get through it by laughing at it and knowing that I'm just going to be stronger and bigger and better because of it. And it all serves me. And, you know, when it comes to forgiveness, you know, like if you guys have watched some of my other calls, you know, I've shared, like, I've never felt more betrayed in my life on different levels, and different things have been coming up. And you know, I just got back from a retreat where I really focused on just moving through it, finding gratitude, finding forgiveness. And I love a quote by Dr. Nima, which is so, so true. And I'm nearly there, and I'm working through so many parts, but I just want to read it because I don't want to get it wrong. Where is it? Sorry, guys. Let me find it. The highest form of forgiveness is the authentic recognition that everything served you and there is nothing to forgive. Now, for the most part, the challenges that are presented for me, I've come to that space. I'm still working on some parts, and I know I will get there one day. And it is a journey. But I've spent the last 5 years working a lot on my past things. And, you know, we all have trauma that we bring from childhood into our adult life that really influences how we show up and how we behave, usually unconsciously. And it can, you know, have a lot of damage to our life and our relationships. And when we become conscious of it, it's when we can really heal and find that forgiveness and stop pulling our past into our future and recreating it, and, you know, recreating those cycles with our children and in our relationships. And everything that I've worked on, you know, I really have been able to find complete gratitude. And this is where it's helpful to have a coach. You know, for me, Mitch from MJB, Nima, like, they've helped me with different things. And there's other people in my life that have helped me as well. But, you know, that I have had some traumatic things happen in my past. And I can honestly say that there is nothing to forgive, because I see how it all served me and my future and who I've become. And I've never been a victim anyway. For me, you know, if something happened 10 years ago, why are you reliving it every day? Stop being a victim. Like, you are giving power to someone else or a situation or a circumstance where it's your choice to give that power over. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy just to have that trauma leave your body, and perhaps there is other work that needs to be done. And, you know, I haven't, you know, experienced everything that others have experienced, but I have had some pretty shitty things happen, you know, in my childhood and in my adult life. And I've chosen to never be a victim to that, and to never keep reliving every day, consciously at least, something that happened in the past. And when I have gone and worked on it, I have seen the many, many gifts that have come from it. And, you know, like I've said, what's happened over the past 12 months from me, like, I just feel like I've transformed as a woman. I love myself more than ever. I feel more confident in myself more than ever. I feel more free and more happy and more in flow. And what an incredible gift to be given by those people in my life who have, you know, been a part of the chaos. Like, it's just been the most incredible gift. And so when you're willing to let your ego down and your desire for payback or getting even, or like, one of my big challenges through life is justice. You know, your desire, when you can let down your desire for justice and what should be fair and right, and actually focus on what the gifts are, that will help you move through forgiveness. And you will realize there's nothing to forgive. And you will realize that the universe is also serving those people in your life, and they also need lessons, and they're also on a journey, and everybody makes mistakes, and you've made mistakes, and you've hurt people. And, you know, it's all like, when you know that you're not perfect, then you stop judging others as harshly as well. What else was I going to share? So stop standing in your own way and pushing through self-doubt. That came up a lot as well. I have spoken a lot about this, and this comes up a lot. I don't want to spend too much time here, but I will say that the only way you're going to move out of self-doubt is to actually get in action, take steps towards whatever your goals are. You know, I love Mel Robbins, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the 5-second rule. You know, like, set yourself up for success in the morning, do your mission statement, do the things. Like, success is a decision. Make the decision and get up every day and take a step towards whatever goal you're working towards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just do it. Just pick up the phone. Just do the Facebook post. Just reach out to who you need to reach out to. It's the action that's going to create confidence. You're going to stay in a vicious cycle of self-doubt if you refuse to take a step forward. Okay? It's so incredibly important to be willing to get outside your comfort zone. That's the only way you're going to grow confidence. Okay? It's not going to happen the other other way around, and you will get stuck in that cycle if you're unwilling to move. The other thing that worked well for me when I was in that phase of getting out of my own way, for those of you who don't know my full story, I was a stay-at-home mum for 8 years. I was just locked in fear and self-doubt and low self-worth, and just didn't know how to, get in action, to change, to grow, to find confidence. And honestly, it was rock bottom. Just freaking had enough of myself. Just get to a stage where you're sick of your own self. There was so much pain at the thought of staying the same, being in the same position in 10 years' time. I was so sick of not liking myself. I didn't want to be in that state anymore. So I had to make a change. I had to make a change out of just loathing being in that place. Enough was enough. So when you'll be motivated by either pain or pleasure. I had enough pain to motivate me to take a step outside my comfort zone, to do the things that scared me, because I just didn't want to stay the same. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. So I wasn't even going to stay the same. I was going to keep sliding backwards. And that was a painful thought, and that motivated me. So you're either going to be motivated by that, or you're going to be motivated by pleasure and setting goals and rewards and targets that are important to you, that pull you towards success, that pull you into action because you want that holiday or that handbag, or to do that contribution, or to be able to say yes to your kids more. Do you want to have to look in your kids' eyes and say to them, you could have had it all, you could have had so much more, I could have said yes to those opportunities, but I just couldn't be bothered getting out of my own way. What is your motivator? What is your leverage? Because sometimes the leverage isn't for ourselves, it's for others. As mothers, often the leverage is our children to begin with, whilst we're developing our own self-worth and knowing that actually you're worthy of doing it for you. I think my children were definitely a number one motivator for me in the past, but now I have enough self-worth to actually get shit done for myself, not just for my kids. But success and creating more and being more, it's transformational, and when it comes to money, if success equals money, that is part of it. And you need to get over that BS stuff, because, money's not good or bad, it's neutral. But it's success is living a life that is full of your values. My value is freedom. My value is spending time with my kids. My value is having fun and connection. And you know what? The more financial success I have, the more freedom I have, the more fun I have, the more connection and time I have with my kids, my family, and my friends. So do I want to earn more money? Absolutely, because I don't want my time owned by somebody else. I don't want to be told what to do every day. I don't want to be told I can't go pick up my kids from school when they're sick because I have to work. I don't want to have to say, no, sorry, Jordan, you can't do dancing because I can't afford it. I want to be able to say yes to all of these things. So I'm motivated by that. That's my inspiration. That pulls me into action every day to actually get shit done. And it stops me from standing in my own way, and it pushes me through self-doubt. So you've got to find what your inspiration is. And, whether it's pain or pleasure in the beginning, it doesn't matter. Hopefully you evolve to being motivated by pleasure. But for me, it was definitely pain in the beginning, getting very clear on that and getting sick of my own self and not wanting to stand in my own way anymore. What else was I going to share? Time management was the last thing that I was going to cover. And then I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to get through everyone's questions. I think it was time management that I was going to chat about. Let me have a look. Yes. So this comes back to self-love again, everyone. The more that you fall in love with yourself, the more you value your time, and the more you're able to put yourself first, and the more you will make the time to manage your time, right? So, and I've spoken about this in length before, but look, I don't have toddlers anymore, and I don't have babies anymore. And this was asked a lot, if you're in that season, my biggest tips to you is, number one is embrace the season. Stop resisting it. There is pain in resistance. Everything in life that you resist, you're going to feel pain around. If you resist the fact that the season you're in is toddler tantrums and baby vomit, you are going to constantly be in pain. You need to surrender to the season you're in. Now, does that mean that you surrender all power and live in chaos? Absolutely not. You have the power still to create a life that you love, you know, around the season that you're in. And some tips that I have to really take your power back around that is, you know, you can, for me, the things that I did in that phase of my life is that I had a gym membership that had a creche, because I knew that I functioned better if I had time to myself of peace and quiet every single day. And so I set myself up for success. Even on the days where I didn't feel like exercising, I knew that I could go put my kids in the creche and have an hour and a half for $5. To me, every cent was worth it. And trust me, we were not financially free at this time. We were sharing one car for many years because we weren't in a great financial position. And trust me, sharing a car was better than missing out on that hour and a half for me in the morning, right? So, you know, set yourself up for success to have time out to nourish you, whether you use that for exercise or just sitting in the sauna and reading a magazine, whatever fills your cup, pretending to use the treadmill, but, you know, you really just want to just tune out and have some peace and quiet. Another thing that you can do is I used to have a friend swap with one of my good friends, and now our kids are like family. Like, it's just been the most beautiful thing. You know, our kids used to call each other mum because we were always helping each other and in each other's life a lot. And we'd do date night swaps, and one day a week we'd alternate where we would have each other's child, and it would just give us, you know, half a day to a full day free where we could get stuff done that was important to us outside of our kids. Now, if you're in a business, growing a business, and you want to set some goals, I can tell you my life has been so much better since I've had a cleaner consistently during the week and a nanny to call on. And, you know, once again, for me, living a happy life is living the things that I value, and, you know, having lots of time to have fun and be free and have flexibility. And these things have maximized my ability to do that because I have created the financial ability to sustain that. And that's something that I always want to be able to do. To me, having that time and having that help so that I have space in my life to actually enjoy my life is more valuable than getting more stuff or a better car or another bigger TV. You know, it really comes down to the things that you value in life. And I really value time and quality time and connection. And yeah, I think just this, you've got to ask yourself better quality questions. You know, if you're in the chaos and toddler and babies, just ask yourself better quality questions rather than, I don't know how, or I can't, or I don't have time. You know, asking yourself, well, how could I create more space and time in my life? How could I get time out each day to work on my business or space and time for me? How can I make sure that my husband and I have time and space to connect every single week and we get that date night, whether it's friends and families or babysitters, or, you know, you've got someone who has a teenage daughter who's happy, you know, for $10 an hour or whatever that might be. When there's a will, there is a way. When it comes to managing your time, it's so incredibly important to, you know, put your big rocks in your calendar first. So in my calendar, my non-negotiables are my kids. I don't have a relationship right now, but if I did have one, that would be a big rock, and making sure I had a space for connection every single week. And then my health is a massive priority. I put those big rocks in first. So where my children need me, I always want to have time of conscious connection, particularly now that I only see them for half a week. I'm even more mindful about being very present with them and having time for that in my diary that nothing gets in the way of. My health next. Every single morning, I have my time to focus on me, and nothing gets in the way of that. Unless something comes up where the kids need me, nothing else gets in the way of that. I say yes only to my health in that time because I value myself. I don't need someone to give me permission to do that, right? I love and value myself. Being selfish is a good thing. When I fill my cup, I show up as a mother better. I show up in my business better. I'm less cranky. I'm more emotionally stable. My emotional states are really much more consistent. And I'm much more resourceful in my life. And I think it's so important that you give yourself permission to put yourself first and to put these times in your diary. And once again, ask yourself a better quality question. How can you make sure that you have that time? Because when I had toddlers and babies, I still made sure that I had that time. And yeah, just remember what you're working towards. I think remembering what you're working towards will give you, once again, the leverage to make time for working on your business, you know, make time for working on your relationship, whatever those things are that are important. You know, what is it that you're trying to achieve? You know, for me, achieving freedom and financial independence has served me and my family so greatly that, you know, when I remember what I'm working towards, that gives me the desire to create space in my life to work on the things that sustain that. So, you know, time management, once again, success in that is just success in every area of your life, whether it's time management, relationships, parenting, health, fitness, personal growth, whatever it is, it's just a decision and then following through with the action. Okay, so stop letting yourself off the hook with your bullshit excuses. Draw a line in the sand and have enough of your own crap, right? When you've had enough of your own BS, that's when you begin to change, right? No one changes before they have enough of their own BS, right? That's the first step to change. And yeah, it's very powerful when you come to that place where you just go, right, that's it. I'm not going to let myself down anymore. I'm going to do the shit that I keep promising myself I'm going to do. Show up for yourself the way that you show up for others. Like, imagine how powerful that would be, right? So what else? I think that's, make sure I haven't missed anything that I was going to talk about. Oh, just quickly, I will, this last one, how to grow and be positive around people who are negative or partners who are not on board or who are not participating in growth and change. Such a good quality question. We only can take responsibility for ourselves, and we have the power to control ourselves and nobody else. And the more you resist or try to control or criticize or hold on to how someone else should be, the more pain you're going to bring into your life and into your relationships. So my best advice around this is to focus on you being the brightest, shiniest light that you can be for yourself, not because you are trying to manipulate anyone. You're doing it because it makes you happy. And you, like a rising tide, lifts all boats. So you raising your own self-worth, you leveling up in your own joy, in your own success, you managing your own emotional states, you taking responsibility for how you communicate and show up in relationships is going to influence the people around you without them even knowing it consciously, without you having to control, or, you know, the more you ask for it or demand it, the less you're going to receive it. So just focus on you and you being your best self. Now, I am all about relationships working together, and I believe that love can always find a way if there are two willing participants. However, you know, there are relationships, whether it's your significant other or whether it's friendships or family members, that will no longer serve you as you grow as a person. And, you know, that's just, you know, that's just how it is. Like, people come and go. Like, I'm of the belief, especially with friendships, is that friendship doesn't have to be for life. If it no longer serves you, you know, your circle may evolve and change over time, and that's actually okay. We don't need to live in this world where we're best friends forever, right? Sometimes it doesn't serve us to be. Sometimes there are those friends where we will be best friends forever because they're like family, and we accept each other's faults and we love each other anyway, even though we feel that we've outgrowing them in certain departments. That's totally fine. But if someone's friendship or space in your life isn't serving you and it's holding you back and pulling you down and making you feel crappy, then, you know, there are times where that won't serve you anymore. But I think for the most part, the more conscious you become, the more you work on yourself, the less demanding you are of others, the less criticizing, the less judgmental you are, the more you're able to just have power over your own emotional state, your own reactions, your own ability to communicate. And that just unconsciously inspires a better relationship anyway. And then often that person will level up with you and they will learn from you without them feeling like you're teaching them or telling them. So that would be my advice on that, is to never watch one of these things and then go and tell your partner that they should do this or they have to do that, or like, you just do it. You do the do, right? And that's how you inspire change. So thank you so much for all of your questions and topics. I'm really excited. We've got some really great guests lined up for our coming calls. You guys loved Jess. I've got her coming back on. We've got Linda, Nima, MJB. But I've also, one of the things that I really want to share more on is I have sought out some guidance. She's a psychologist, but more of from the spiritual, like a psychologist, but she's just so she's a very conscious woman and just so beautiful, and her advice has been amazing, and I've sought her help. And just, I've been wanting to make sure that my girls are doing okay in this transition, in this separation, and she's really just helped me manage my expectations. She's helping me cultivate a deeper connection with my girls. She's giving them a space to express any emotions that perhaps they don't feel safe expressing, with myself or Adam. And yeah, it's just been amazing. And even our nanny who helps out has seen a difference in the children since I've incorporated her into our routine. So she's going to be coming on. It might be a month or so away, but I know you guys wanted some more conscious parenting tips. And I love speaking on that topic, but I always love having an expert who can back me up as well. So I'm really excited to incorporate some of that. So stay tuned. And, keep speaking with me. Let me know about your wins. And if you guys have topics and things that you want us to continue sharing on, then please communicate, because it really helps me know what you guys want to hear more of. And please share. Please tag me on social media. Please share on your Instagram stories, because, I really just want to grow this community where we can inspire and help one another to level up. And just become the best versions that we were designed to be. So thanks for hanging with me today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you, everyone.